Okay, Tet, your reading. I'm sitting on my bed, so it's a little bit messy. Oh, don't mind that. All right, so I've already shuffled the cards. These are my new tarot, fairy tarot I was telling you about. They're very pretty. You will see. I'm going to go ahead and cut them so you can see, and then we'll start. All right. This covers you, sums up your overall situation. And we have the Two of Spring. So spring is the fire suit. In a regular deck, this would be staves. So this has to do with energy, passion, motivation, the fiery type of stuff. So your overall situation, this is just a start in the beginning part because it is a 2. So it's early in as far as the numbers go with the numerology of that. And 2s can have to do with harmony, balance, teamwork, that type of thing too. So this is beginning to start something, using your energy or motivation to get something off the ground and possibly having the cooperation of another. So, and these ones, as you'll notice, they have words on the bottom like my other deck doesn't. And it doesn't always apply because every card, as you know, can mean a lot of different things depending on the context, where it is. But we'll go ahead and read that. A bright future manifested through hard work and creativity. Partnering with others who share your dreams, great progress being made. So that's the overall situation. Then what crosses you? This is a card something that affects that card right there. So something that influences this situation. And this we have the Chariot. Major Arcana card. It's also called the Chariot in a regular deck. And so what this symbolizes is, so in the regular chariot, you've got a black horse and you've got a white horse. And one symbolizes spirit and the other is ego, right? So they want to go different ways sometimes. And you can't go both ways. So this is about you trying to harness possibly if you have a conflict between your head and your heart or your ego and your spirit, trying to make sure you can get them both going in the same direction, keeping yourself on the right path, keeping the possibly unruly impulses in check and trying to follow your heart and keep yourself on the right track. So, this would indicate, getting off to a start of something that is a passion of yours and it's looking good. You may have some cooperation. Affecting that is simultaneously a drive to stay on the right track that will keep on bringing you towards your goal, but also an impulse to stray and to get taken off track by the other part of you that doesn't always have your long-term goals in mind. And again, if we read this, success that comes from dedication and self-discipline, celebrating your accomplishments, being in the spotlight. And I don't really feel like that completely and totally applies, and that happens a lot. But as far as the part that says success that comes from dedication and self-discipline, the self-discipline part refers to, what I was telling you about is, keeping yourself on the same track, even though a part of you wants to pull you away. And it can be tempting and it can be fun and it can be pleasurable. And that can be really hard to resist sometimes. Like, oh, I don't want to get up for work today. I'm just going to stay home and sleep or whatever. I do it. Sometimes it seems more fun to do the thing that we know we're not supposed to do. But if you stay disciplined, this right here will continue to progress. All right. At the foundation of this issue. So this covers you. This crosses you. This is beneath you. So at the foundation of your issue, we have the Six of Autumn. This would be the Pentacles in a regular suit. And so, when you look at this one, you see, this being earthy, materialism, finances, family, and there are several people there, and there's a lot of bright, sparkling lights. There's a lot of growth. There's a lot of, looks like material satisfaction. So financially or materialistically, this is a good card for you because this is reaping the fruits of your labors and being able to enjoy the results of your hard work. So, this is at the foundation. So this might say that, something that you did in the distant past or at the foundation of this issue is paying off. Okay, your recent past, so what's behind you. This is the Ace of Spring. This would be a beginning. And again, this is spring, so another fire card. And it's another early one. So here with the 2. So I would say the 2 is where you're at right now. In your recent past, you had the Ace, which makes sense because recently it began and now you're here. You're moving along. So in your recent past, maybe you got an idea, or you just got really excited about something. You decided to go for something. You decided to do something. You got passionate about something, got motivated, and at first it was just you. So you thought, hey, what if I do this? And you decided to actually do something. And then now you got to the point, where you may have some cooperation or maybe other people in on it. But recently, just started as a seed. And this kind of like is getting clear and blurry, but when you can see this card, so she's standing by a tiny little tree because she just recently planted it. It is already blooming. It's already blossoming. And that would be where you were, just planting that seed. And there's all kinds of, magical things going on along it. So that shows there was a lot of intention with that seed that you planted. You really believed in it and the universe supported you. What is before you? This is your near future. We have our 8 of Winter. So this would be swords in a regular deck, which would be painful life lessons in communication. So this says, coming up, just be aware that there may be something having you feeling trapped. You can see how she's standing on this little block of ice, and she's really not that far from the other ice. She isn't trapped, but it gives the illusion of being trapped. She feels trapped. She feels helpless. She feels, oh, I'm stuck out here. There's nothing I can do. I'm just on this little block of ice. I can't get anywhere. I can't do anything. Woe is me. Poor me. I'm trapped. I'm a prisoner. But she's not being realistic. She's not seeing the opportunity to the different ways out. She's not thinking outside the box. It's kind of more that she's focused on her isolation rather than looking for solutions. So this would say to you in the near future, you may have a similar mindset. My advice to you would be, instead of focusing on the setback, focus on looking for solutions. Don't focus on the problem. Focus on ways out of the problem. There are always ways out of the problem. You may have to think creatively. But, if she were to look, all she would have to do, is just, she could just jump. There's so many things she could do. She can just jump across. It's not a big deal. And so if you feel in victim mode, I would recommend snapping out of that, because when you're in that mode, you can't see the solutions around you. And I would dare say sometimes we don't really actually want to. So if you are serious about moving forward with this, you are going to need to, not to sound harsh or anything, suck it up and figure it out. You can. It isn't hopeless. And again, we'll read the bottom. You have what it takes if only you believe in yourself. Thinking that you're powerless when you're not. A lack of self-confidence that keeps you from getting what you want. That's pretty much what I just said. All right. Now what crowns you? So the best thing that you have going for you in this situation? Ego. And in a regular deck, this is actually the devil, but we know, that doesn't mean anything satanic, whatever that even is. And really, the devil card in that deck does mean just ego, materialism. In a way, kind of going with this one, because this is like a bondage card, and this also can be bondage to material pleasures. Not necessarily even material pleasures, but bondage to something of the physical realm. That's where our ego dwells. Our ego dwells in things and stuff and accumulation and physical pleasure. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, we are here on this earthly plane to enjoy our senses and to indulge in material pleasures, but we do need to go beyond that. So since this isn't a good position though, this doesn't have a negative spin, since this is the best thing that you have going for you, this would indicate that the best thing that you have going for you is that you do know how to have fun. You have a healthy appreciation for enjoyment. You know how to treat yourself well. You like to have a good time. You're not so, caught up in being a martyr or depriving yourself, or you don't have some false ideas of I don't know what I was trying to say, but you know what I mean. The best thing that you have going for you is that you understand that it is okay to treat yourself. It is okay to indulge, and you do have a the ability to do that, a fun-loving person. So the bottom of this is not going to apply for this situation, like I was telling you at the beginning. This is saying the illusion of being trapped, placing too much importance on material items, getting caught up in fear and worry. Now, if we're going to put a positive spin on this, we'd say it's a good thing that you also care about your material items, because you make sure to provide for yourself. You make sure to provide for the people that depend on you. See, Christmas is coming up. You may think that material things are important, so you're going to make it a priority to make sure that your kids get nice presents. And that is a good thing sometimes, so that's nothing to be ashamed of. All right. You, in this situation, is the Prince of Autumn. So it's fitting that it's a court card, because court cards usually are people. Autumn, again, being pentacles. So this is about family, finances, money and security, stability, that type of thing. It's the Prince, so it's not the fully mature aspect, but it shows, effort. It's a good intentions. You are heading rapidly, or as rapidly as an earth sign could. You're not an earth sign, but, as a earth card could, toward the goal of providing security and stability, financial abundance for yourself and the people in your life. Since this represents you, of course, then primarily it is for yourself. But like it goes up there to this, nothing wrong with wanting to have a warm, nice house with the material comforts that make us more comfortable while we're here. So, you want you and your loved ones to be provided for. And that is echoed right here. You're a person that wants to take care of people. To protect them. And the bottom says, cautious but wise action, meticulous attention to detail, kindness to others. I don't even know why I read those, because they're so basic but anyway. All right. So your environment, something around you that is affecting this situation. This would be life experience. In a regular deck, you may be familiar with this card as the Tower. Since this isn't you, though, it's in your environment, it doesn't really mean something in your life is falling apart. But it is something in maybe somebody else's life, and it indirectly affects you in the situation that we're talking about. So something around you is falling apart. And that isn't to say that that's a bad thing, because like I always say with the Tower card, if that tower is crumbling, it's because it wasn't built on a good foundation. It wasn't for you, or, maybe it was at some point serving its purpose, but it got to a point where it outgrew that, where it needed to crumble so something new could be built, because we always need to progress and move forward. What served us a year ago maybe is starting to get worn out. We're outgrowing it. It's starting to fall apart. It isn't comfortable anymore. And we'll start to notice that, we just need to let it go and let it just completely fall down. Now, when those things fall down, it can be devastating. It can be uncomfortable. It can even be painful. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that this change is always blissful. But what I will tell you is, if you focus on the blessing there, the ability to start over consciously and making decisions that will later lead to a tower that we like, then you'll see the blessing in that. But again, since this is your environment, this isn't necessarily your tower. But be aware that there's something around you that may be in need of transition, that isn't working, and that will need to crumble and fall apart so it can be rebuilt in a way that is more useful. So that may affect what you're doing. An example would be, and I don't feel that this is it, but let's say you're working for a company, because we're talking about a lot of, material, money type of issues. And let's say you're trying to provide security and stability, but then, the company that you're working at, maybe they aren't conducting their business in a way, sorry, my foot's falling asleep, sorry for all the wiggling, in a way that is any longer best for their customers, or they need to grow and they need to make some changes. And so maybe, they have some type of an overhaul, or the company goes under, but ultimately, that's going to be for the greater good. But of course, as we know, that would impact you, of course. All right, your hopes and or fears. This is release. So in a regular deck, this would be the Death card, but that doesn't, really mean anything morbid or even bad. But since this is a hope or fear card, it could be either one, to be honest with you. It could be a hope that you can end a cycle so that you can begin a new cycle. You might be growing out of something and being ready to move into the next phase. And in order to move to the next phase, you have to let go of the old phase. So you may be hoping to be able to let go of something that's no longer serving you. On the flip side of that, it could be a fear. You could fear that something is coming to an end. And that might be something that's difficult for you to deal with because you're afraid of the ending part without realizing you have to have that in order to have the next, which is the beginning part. So whether it's a hope or a fear, focus on the beginning part. There will need to be difficulty, like we just saw here, in order for something new to begin. We have to shut the other door to open the other one, which I don't know. I always thought that was a weird saying because you can always open doors without shutting the other ones. But like with the tower situation, if you want to build something new, there's no two ways about it. There's no way of getting around having to tear the old thing down. And tearing the old thing down isn't always pleasant and it isn't always fun. So if this is a fear, your feelings are valid, but also be aware that continuing to hold on to something that's no longer serving you, it will not be a way of living your life that's going to bring you any lasting happiness. Okay. And then the last card, this is the possible outcome if you continue on the current path. And I don't have to explain all that to you because I've done a lot of readings for you, so you know that nothing is ever set in stone and you can always make different decisions. So if you don't like the way that things look like they're heading, this is your opportunity to make different choices in hopes of steering yourself in a different direction. But the possible outcome, if you continue on the path you are currently on, is Nine of Winter. All right, Tet, you're my friend. We've been friends for a long time. So I'm just going to be real with you. This card is regret. So, no, I'm not, this isn't like, oh, terrible doomsday, something bad's going to happen to you. I wouldn't tell you this if I thought that there was nothing you could do about it. That's not the point of tarot. The point is to say, hey, I see, not danger, I wouldn't go that far, but I see possible regret up ahead. And so if you are looking to avoid that, if you don't want to end up in that situation, pay really close attention to the decisions that you make. Be really conscious of the motivation for what you do, and make sure that you're choosing the right things for the right reasons. Because if not, if you don't do that mindfully, it is very easy to maybe even without thinking, make a decision that will set you up for regret later on. So keep your motivation in mind, the things that you want, the type of life that you're striving toward, and you keep that chariot on the road so that it gets you to the destination that you're looking to go. Because if you let the ego horse get the best of you, then you may end up in a situation where you're like, oh, I wish that hadn't happened. But I will say, worst case scenario, if that does happen, and if you end up having regret, it isn't going to serve you at all to wallow in it, to stay stuck in it, or to give up and just stay stuck there. If that does happen, lesson learned, learn from that, keep on moving forward. Always keep on moving forward. You're not here to be perfect. You're not here to avoid making mistakes. If you find that you've made a mistake, figure out, okay, well, what am I going to do now? And how am I going to make sure that I end up somewhere different? So don't let any of this be discouraging. Overall, it is very good. I see that you do have really good intentions, and there are the support of others. Things, even when they feel like they may be bad, are not nearly as bad as you may think. When you get there, you have the power and the ability to get where you want to go. Don't doubt yourself, and you will get there. All right, well, that's all I have to say. Happy belated solstice, and I hope you have a great Christmas with your kids.